All right, I have it.
Okay.
Then a mighty angel picked up a boulder the size of a large millstone and threw it into the sea and said, wait, is this one verse?
Yeah.
With such violence, the great city of Babylon will be thrown down, never to be found again.
Okay, last week we talked, I believe was it in Daniel, or maybe it was in Jeremiah about, Babylon being thrown into the river Euphrates. And we compared it with spiritual Babylon. And here it was as an example or as a type of this spiritual Babylon in Revelation is thrown into the sea. And it's compared to, as if an angel picked up a millstone and cast it into the ocean. And so I kind of wanted to start there. Why a millstone?
What is a millstone? Stone.
Is that a grain grinding mechanism?
Yeah.
Crush the grain and get rid of the chaff?
No, that's the threshing floor, but it is a device to grind, grain or corn to make like some type of feed or flour to cook with.
Meal. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I think when I was reading about it, it's like one grain stationary and the other one moves over top of it and it grinds whatever's under in between to like powder almost. Maybe used to make bread. But we see that in this passage, Babylon is typed as a millstone that's picked up by the angel and cast into the sea, never to be seen again. And we also have said in various ways, again, I don't remember off the top of my head, but this most likely begins on day 7, okay, which is, the day of the Lord, the 7th day, which we talked about off and on for quite a while. Hey, buddy, how you doing? It's good to see you.
Hey,
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, you too, man. So the question then, one of the questions is, I wonder if this is a slow, methodical thing, or is it a quick thing? It's probably slow, methodical, whatever it means to pick up spiritual Babylon, which would be the harlot or whatever, and pick it up and throw it into the sea. And it seems to occur on day 7, whatever that would mean. So let's turn to Matthew 18, 3 and 4. So we're going to look at a couple instances of a millstone here.
Matthew 18, 3 and 4, you said?
Yeah.
All right. And he said, truly, I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven.
You might as well just read the next 2 verses too, man.
And whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea.
In this passage, the millstone, the same word, the millstone that we just saw the angel pick up, and it refers to Babylon, the millstone does, being thrown into the sea. In this passage, somebody that causes a little one to stumble is equated the same way. And it's actually better if we're more profitable that a millstone should be hung around his neck and thrown into the depths of the sea. Yeah, I wonder, like there's obviously this isn't a coincidental thing. I wonder what that might mean.
Yeah.
Any thoughts? No?
When they say like be like a little child, like is that like where you just believe? I don't know. I feel like my head's thinking, but I'm having a hard time saying it.
I think he really meant little to become like a child
Yeah.
that
It is
looks at God the same way a child would look at a parent, with trust. Like, think of Maddie. She just trusts even though she fights you at every step. We do the same thing with God, by the way. Now that's funny.
Yeah.
We treat him
Hi, Don.
like a parent. Hi, Don. Hi, Jay.
Hi, guys.
What's up, big boy?
How you doing?
Good, man.
Hi, Jay.
Hi.
Hi.
So we're in Matthew 18, 3 through 6 right now.
Okay.
We're talking about a millstone and how Megan asked a question about what does it mean to be as a little children or a little child, they should say, and coming, to the kingdom of heaven. What exactly does that mean? And then, of course, then the other question might be, I wonder what it means to, to be somebody who offends one of those little ones that Jesus talks about. And it's better for him, better for him if he were part of Babylon, or the millstone that's hung around his neck, and he's drowned in the sea, than it is for him, I guess it's more profitable for him to be that than if it weren't. And so we're trying to say, I wonder what that means. But he seems to compare somebody that offends one of these little ones to being, certainly at the very least, part of Babylon, would suggest.
Okay.
Okay. So I wanted to show you something real quick that from time to time helps me to study. And let me just see if I can find the share. I always struggle with finding the share button here. Oh, there it is. Okay. You guys may be perfectly familiar with this, but you may not be, but this helps me a lot. So I'm going to show you this. You can see my Bible screen here, right?
Right.
Okay. I don't know how little the words are. Are they small?
No, you can read them good. It's a good size.
Okay. So for instance, we started at 3. So we got these verses here through 6. Okay. So Meg, you had asked me, what does it mean to be a little child? Well, I don't know, outside of maybe just changing my Bible to KJV plus, which is with the Strong's concordance numbers next to it.
Yeah.
And so you can just click on the word next to little children, or the number, I should say, and it tells you what the meaning is: an infant or half-grown boy or girl, or figuratively an immature Christian or a child. Okay. Now he continues and he says the same thing. He says the same word in the next verse, little child, same thing in Greek. And if you can see the G3813, that's Greek, and number 3813. I don't know how people in the old days would spend the time looking the stuff up in the concordance. I sure wouldn't. Yeah. But anyway, he goes on in verse 5 and he says, and whereso shall receive such little one in my name receives me. So this is a different word. Although it's related, it seems like it said chidling, an infant, half-grown boy or girl. It also says a figurative little child. Actually, no, I'm sorry, I chose the same one.
Yeah, you did.
If we go into the next verse in 6, but whoso shall offend one of these little ones, here the word is different.
Yeah.
So it's the word size, quantity, number, least, less, little, small. And the question is, or becomes, at least from my vantage point, he's obviously referring to these, but Jesus does this stuff all the time where he'll change one of these little references in what he's talking about. And you'd say, oh, I know exactly what he's saying. And I do believe he's talking about the little children in the previous 2 or 3 verses. But I wonder why he just changes the word and doesn't say whoever offends one of these little children, which believe on me, it were better that he be thrown into the depths of the sea. I don't have the answer to that, but no, in the midst of studying, this is one of the things that I have a tendency to, learn a lot from, because sometimes you're able to glean a little bit more information from what something may or may not be saying, to look at just nothing more than the words. And although in this example, there's not a tremendous amount to glean of what he's saying in that particular example, a little later on today, there's a second time we'll go to the same type of study where I'll show you the words, and hopefully you'll be able to garner a little more out of what I show you then. But so here we see that these people that lead the little immature Christians astray seem to represent Babylon, right? So, and one other thing, Jesus makes a point in verse 6. He says, but whoso shall cause one of these little ones that believe on me. So he uses a qualifier there, not just any little one, although in theory, I'm sure any little one is going to spend a whole lot of time in, in a very hot place, hopefully. But in this example, he's talking about those that believe on him that cause them to stumble, somehow are related to Babylon in this example.
Right.
So let's look, we're going to look at the word for little children, in verse 3 and verse 4. The first one I showed you, little children, the immature children, whatever. The first instance will, not the first instance, but one of the instances will be in 1 John 2:18.
Isn't it? 1 John?
1 John 2:18.
Ah,
Just the 18 there.
Yeah.
So, dear children, this is the last hour. And as you have heard that the Antichrist is coming, even now many Antichrists have come. This is how we know it is the last hour.
Okay, so a lot we could glean there, but in particular, John calls the reader little children.
Little children, yeah.
Yeah, kind of weird. Huh?
Yeah.
Let's now go back to John 21, verses 4 and 5. This will be Jesus talking to his disciples after he's been crucified, but showing up. I think before he goes, is it before he goes to the Father? I don't know if it's before or after, but it's after he's been crucified and died, but yet shows up in front of his disciples.
John what?
21, 4 and 5.
Want me to read it?
Sure.
John, early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" "No," they answered. He said, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some." When they did, oops, I read too much.
That's okay. So
When
in this example, Jesus calls his disciples children. All right, which is odd because Jesus is using the very word, in one of the examples about anybody that leads one of these astray, and John calls his audience that. Jesus calls his own disciples little children, which is, odd.
Where he says friends?
That's
Yeah.
the same word.
It's the same word?
Yeah,
In
And in
King
King
James?
James, it says children.
children.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's an odd, it's all like, it's an odd choice of word. Did you have something done?
No, I was just agreeing.
So it's just not, it's kind of an odd choice of words, which makes you think the the target of somebody that leads somebody astray is very large. It's people that are seeking God, not only like little children that come on and sit up like on his lap or whatever. Like it seems to be anybody that's still even spiritually young, and or anybody that, I mean, is still a disciple. So it's just the way he does this
Yeah.
does open the door to say, oh, Jesus, are you including this too in those that can be, lead others astray in some regard? Luke 17, 1 and 2.
One and two.
This is a sister passage to the first verse in Matthew we read.
Jesus said to his disciples, things that cause people to stumble are bound to come, but woe to anyone through whom they come. It would be better for them to be thrown into the sea with a millstone tied around their neck than to cause one of these little ones to stumble.
Okay, so here one of the things he puts in here, it's impossible, but that the occasions of stumbling should come. He didn't say that before, or Matthew hadn't written it down here. He includes that in this as he's talking about, those who were in essence guilty of causing the little ones to stumble. They're going to come. He's, in essence, is what he's saying. So it's going to happen. But whoever evidently that does it, it would seem to be they were as if they were part of Babylon, or maybe they are part of Babylon, or they're worse than that, or better than. Would it be worse or better than Babylon? Well, it would
The
be.
people that cause people to stumble? Oh, yeah.
They're worse than Babylon, right? Because it would have been
Well-
better if a millstone were hung about his neck.
Well, I think that they're going to be scattered throughout.
So let's look at another example. So we see the millstone representing Babylon, but it doesn't always represent Babylon. So we're going to turn to Matthew 24 here. And it's verses 38 through 42. And again, Matthew 24, Jesus speaks to his disciples about the signs of his coming and the end of the age. And this example,
Didn't we just read this? Oh, I'm sorry.
that's okay. This example is a little example that Jesus talks about two women that are grinding at the mill. Same family of words, mill, but it's just like a sister word, meaning kind of the same thing. They're grinding. Instead of it being actual stone, they're the people that are doing the grinding. But somebody want to read that?
For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage up to the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. That is how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and the other left. 2 women will be grinding with a handmill, one will be taken and the other left. Keep going.
Just 42.
Okay. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what time of night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let his house be broken into.
So before Jesus comes, one of the things he says here is that 2 women will be grinding at the mill. Who are the 2 women?
Does it matter?
Yeah.
They represent something? See what you're saying?
Once I say it, you'll be like, oh yeah.
The harlot, is that
Okay,
one of them?
that's one.
And the bride.
And the bride.
Oh, okay.
Good, very good.
Good,
Okay,
Don.
I'm lost. Okay. No, it's okay.
So the harlot and the bride here are both grinding at the millstone. Isn't that weird?
I never thought about that.
Yeah. And so as we look at this a little closer, and there's probably the similar story, and I don't know what it is because I didn't study this, is the two men in the field, one taken, one left. But here's two women grinding. Again, we think it's the bride and the harlot, one taken and one left. Is it better to be taken or left?
Taken. I think taken.
Okay. Well, there's only one other answer, and I know it would only be the other one. Well, you remember back in the 70s, there was that song, I Wish We'd All Been Ready.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
Because I was singing it to myself when we
Yeah.
were reading.
Ah,
So let's think about this. I think, Dee, we've always been brought up, and it's better to be taken because we thought it would be a rapture. Okay, we thought it was, and maybe there is. I don't believe that anymore, but maybe. But I want to show you a slightly different way. I think it's probably better to be left. Okay.
What?
So
Well,
let's.
it is talking about a flood that took them all away. If you read the verses prior,
okay.
Right, that was I was gonna point back that the flood takes who away?
the people weren't ready.
Right. So in theory, if his point continues and he's not being completely opposite, the two women, one that's left will be swept away. Do you
Okay.
understand? So she won't be left. I know the idea is, yeah, we'll be taken in a rapture, but I think that's probably true. Now, if we were watching, we would know. I mean, remember Jesus said a few minutes ago, or Harry said, watch therefore, you know not day on which day your Lord comes. So we're supposed to be watching, okay, whatever that means, okay, because if we aren't watching, we won't know. So real
Right.
quick, let's turn to Revelation 18:22. Now, in this verse, this is referring to Babylon. Okay, so this is after, matter of fact, we read the previous verse, which was about the mighty millstone being thrown into the sea and cast down and found no more. And when it's found no more, verse 22 is next. So somebody read that.
The music of harpists and musicians, pipers and trumpeters will never be heard in you again. No worker of any trade will ever be found in you again. The sound of a millstone will never be heard in you again.
Right, because that's one of the two places that the millstone is ground in, whether it's true or not, but it's found there, and it's found in the bride as well. So the coming of Jesus, and I'm trying to read my notes. I haven't read this in a couple days because I've been looking at something else, but coming of the Son of Man during day 7 is like a flood that sweeps away one of the two women who grind at the mill. So we think it's the harlot of Babylon. Okay. Now, Harry, you read back in Matthew. Let's go back to Matthew 24 and verse 43. If you want to read that again, Harry.
Sure. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what time of the night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let his house be broken into. So you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him.
Okay, so this few verses prior to this, Noah and I'm assuming the wicked were swept away and they weren't ready. Now, what do you think? Noah watched?
What do you mean? Like he watched, he was shut up in the ark, wasn't he?
Would you
He was
consider
He
if
was
Jesus,
building an ark, and yeah,
so,
No, he entered it and then God shut the door, right?
right, but do you think from the standpoint, since he's comparing the flood of Noah's day with what will happen to the wicked in Jesus's day, you would assume that Noah watched, right?
mhm.
Okay. Now, whose house is broken into in verse 43?
The person not watching, the person not keeping watch.
Okay.
Uh.
Anything else?
The one who was swept away.
Okay, that's true. Now, last week we talked about a lot, and we talked about passages where, there were those that were drunken and asleep, and they slept when the people sleep, which is in the night, and drunkards sleep at night. And he's not talking about natural, he was talking about spiritual drunkards. And here we have the same type of principle. Those that didn't watch are those people whose house get broken through. Now, certainly that would be those that were in Babylon. Okay, those that think that they're evidently following God, but aren't really following him. And somehow they're surprised because their house had gotten broken into. Now, what's stolen, by the way? Anyone know? What if their house is broken into? Any idea?
Mhm.
Or here's another question. Who is the thief?
Devil.
I thought it was Christ. No?
Well, Revelation 16:15 will tell us. Revelation 16:15. And these are Jesus's words.
Revelation what?
16:15.
15. 16.
Oh, it was Jesus or God.
15. I come like a thief.
You want to read that?
Me?
Yeah, I'll read it.
Oh, go ahead, Deb.
Look, I come like a thief. Blessed is the one who stays awake and remains clothed so as not to go naked and be shamefully exposed.
Weird, huh? We don't think of Jesus. We've always thought that the thief broke into. Well, I think the idea was we thought we'd be swept away, and this thief comes to steal his people away, but he doesn't. He comes to steal those that aren't watching, and he takes the garments lest and says they'll be naked and see their shame. So he comes to people that think they're wearing his garments. All right. The other thing he does, and I didn't write this down, and I don't know if anyone knows where the verse is, but there's the other verse about the guy who's in the marriage feast.
Mm-hmm.
I look at your dog. Do you guys remember that verse?
And he's asked to leave because he's
Yeah.
not dressed properly.
Yes.
Yeah, I never understood that because he said invite everyone in, but then he noticed that one guy.
Wait, where? Say that again. I got distracted.
It's in Matthew.
Yeah, I didn't know where though.
Let me see.
Matthew. Let's Google it.
Is it the wedding feast or the marriage feast? I don't remember.
Let me see.
We
The
have
parable of the wedding banquet. Is that it? Matthew
22.
22.
Matthew 22. Do you have the verse?
Yeah. Yep, it's 11.
11. Yeah. 12. 11 and 12.
So here, it's somebody that came in with the wrong garments.
Yeah, who's not wearing wedding clothes.
That's weird, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's weird.
And I wonder if it's a parable of the same thing. This guy thinks he's ready for the wedding, he shows up. And in verse 13, well, the man's speechless, right?
Yeah.
And then he says this, the king said to his servants, bind him hand and foot, cast him
Oh,
out in
wow.
darkness. Many are called, but few are chosen.
Weeping and gnashing of teeth in this version.
Yeah. So
Where do you, wow.
what does that mean?
I don't know, but it seems kind of harsh for not wearing the right clothes at all.
It means that they think they have, or they pretend to have the clothes of righteousness, all the things that they're supposed to be wearing, and they don't, so they get thrown into the lake of fire.
So this would be Babylon. This would be somebody who's part of Babylon who thinks he's ready. The
Yeah.
same way Jesus comes as the thief that thinks they're wearing garments and they don't. So he comes and he takes them.
Mm.
So we have a little over 3 minutes. So I'm going to try and summarize just real quick. This is what I see, and there's probably more. Jesus' second coming sweeps away Babylon, which won't ever be seen again. Now, I don't know how he does that. I don't know how long it takes, but it seems to occur on day 7. So he comes as Noah's flood, sweeps the evil away, catching many off guard, and most aren't ready. Or not ready. Many off guard and not ready. Jesus comes as a thief who aren't watching, and he steals their garments. If you're watching for Jesus's return, your house won't be broken through and your garments won't be stolen, almost like Noah. Babylon includes those that causes little ones or little children to stumble. Babylon includes the women at the mill, whom we think is the harlot. And then Jesus calls his disciples little children. John does too. So we think this is referring to the same thing here, and it seems to be a big deal. So we're gonna exit off, and then we're gonna start in Ecclesiastes 12. And we're gonna look at the symbolism of the same type of thing in there, and we'll see if we can put the puzzle pieces together. It's all full of like metaphors. So
Okay.
Ecclesiastes 12, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.